For a moment of silence and the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. For a motion to entertain approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Felber,
Second.
second by Commissioner Danielowski. All those in favor?
Aye.
Open forum. Is there any form for open forum?
Yes, Board Chair, we have one individual sign up for open forum, Gary Sawyer.
Do you want me to go over the rules first for open forum? Okay. Just a reminder to the public, the purpose of the open forum section of the county board meeting is to allow public input and/or information to be presented to the board that does not require action by the board and is not on the agenda for future discussion. It is requested that speakers refrain from personal attacks of any kind on another person, commissioner, or employee. It is requested that speakers refrain from campaign-style presentations. The time limit is 3 minutes per speaker with a maximum of 5 speakers per open forum. The time limit may be shortened or extended at the discretion of the board chair. The open forum may be continued following the conclusion of the regular board business meeting agenda items. It is requested that all input or information be addressed to the Board of Commissioners and not to members of the audience. Speaker handouts are public information. The county may make copies of such handouts for the public if needed, and the county board chair will ensure that the open forum policy is followed. In addition, it is noted that the open forum does not constitute part of a public hearing regarding any land use matters that the county board may address during this or future meetings. It is important also to note that the record of public comment was officially closed following the conclusion of the Planning Commission meeting. The county board's decisions will be based upon the official record established at the Planning Commission and its subsequent discussions.
Good
Never
morning.
mind then. I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
All right, with that, you get your 3 minutes, right? All right, we're ready for you, Gary.
I hit every one of those. Hey, big crowd, thank you.
Hope you took notes.
Thanks, everybody. Good morning, commissioners, and Merry Christmas to everybody. Thank you for allowing me to speak today. My name is Gary Tonziger. I live here in Elk River. I'm a citizen of Sherburne County, and I'm the head of election integrity for Restore Minnesota. I'm here to talk about an alarming pattern of fraud in Minnesota. I'm sure you've heard all about it and its direct ties to our election process. We've seen widespread fraud statewide, from Feeding Our Future, autism services, housing stabilization, Medicaid, welfare, and SBA fraud, yet somehow we hope that fraud stops at the ballot box. Recently in Carver County, 2 individuals were arrested for submitting over 500 fraudulent voter registration forms, with the scheme spanning 12 other counties yet to be named. It seems the investigation is still underway. Here in Sherburne County, a person was arrested during the last election, along with an associate who was seen on video voting on more than one ballot. These aren't isolated cases, they are a pattern of voter fraud. This leads to a key vulnerability in our voting systems, our electronic check-in rosters from No Inc. These electronic rosters handle statewide voter check-in with real-time turnout updates. This allows officials like the Secretary of State's office to monitor voting patterns in real time on election day, tracking who has voted, when they voted, and where the voter turnout varies. The data isn't public, raising concerns about transparency and misuse. This could enable targeted get-out-the-vote efforts on election day or allow bad actors to exploit the gaps. On top of that, No Inc. recently purchased Dominion Voting Systems, the same system Sherburne County uses to tabulate votes. Now one county manages voter verification and tabulation in all the precincts, creating a conflict of interest or even worse. Paired with real-time monitoring, this opens the risk for voter fraud a paper system like our paper rosters could prevent. Commissioners, Minnesota faces a fraud epidemic. We can't put our heads in the sand any longer. We need to take action. A return to paper rosters in all precincts is just a start. Our neighbors in Isanti County have already made the switch. Our elections rely on trust. I urge you to investigate these issues and to push for reforms before the next election. Thank you. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
No questions. Thank you.
Questions?
Anyone else? Is there anyone else on open forum, Brian?
There's no one else.
Moving on to consent agenda. Bruce?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. We have 4 items requesting to be pulled and discussed separately. They are consent agenda item number 4, the consider approval of the 2026 5-year capital improvement plan. Consent agenda item number 9, consider approval of a letter of support for Connexus Energy's Empowering Rural America grant application. Item number 19, consider approval of a solid waste license renewal for OTI Incorporated. And item number 23, consider approval of an amendment to MOU between Sherburne County Parks and the Minnesota Land Trust. So again, request for pulling those for separate consideration, items 4, 9, 19, and 23.
Mr. Chair, I'll move approval of the consent agenda with the 4 items that were requested to be removed for separate consideration as presented.
We have a motion.
I'll second that.
Second by Commissioner Felber. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Okay.
We'll move on to 3.4 then, Bruce.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. So Commissioner Hulse requested that because it's dealing with budgets, we should have at least a little bit of presentation discussion, not just assume people will see it if it's on the consent agenda. So I've asked Dan to address the capital improvement plan that is before you today.
Good morning, Commissioners. Each year, departments submit a capital improvement plan to the administration, and that's what you see as part of your packet. It does have a 5-year plan, so we can kind of plan out the next 5 years of what will be spent on capital. So this is something that is approved each December, and we are working on cleaning up the format a little bit, but that is the nexus of what you're looking at there is it's our capital improvement plan for the next 5 years. Understanding.
Dan, do you want to talk a little bit about the mix of funding for the capital improvement plan as well, and then how the year-end savings works?
Yeah, we do have a plan on how to fund those projects. Some of it is levy dollars, some of it is grants, some of it is the enterprise fund, so it all depends on the actual project. We also have a year-end savings account that we use for one-time purchases. So those are not built into the budget, but it's unexpected things like a boiler breaks down, an HVAC system has an issue. We use that one-time funding for those type of projects that are unexpected.
So in other words, the capital improvement plan are planned improvements. For the unexpected improvements, we typically go to year-end savings and then reserves if necessary.
Yeah, it's my understanding, Mr. Chair, that the 5-year capital improvement plan is a way to set aside funding to help with purchasing the needs that have been identified going forward.
Correct.
Yep. And if we chose to, we could even go out as far as 10 years.
We could.
Mr. Chair. Yeah, and my primary reason for this, given that it's a budget item, I just would prefer it not be on a consent agenda and wanted it brought up for the regular agenda.
And I would also note for the board that we make sure that the full budget, including the capital improvement plan, are also available online for anybody who's interested in them.
Any other questions?
No.
Comments? Need a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve item 3.4.
Moved by Commissioner Halls,
I'll second that.
second by Commissioner Felber. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. 3.9, Bruce.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. Commissioner Felber asked us this be pulled from the agenda. We did get some additional information. I only have one copy, so I'll just summarize it briefly and then pass it around. The requested letter of support is for a grant application by Connexus Energy for what they're calling community benefit plans. And the breakdown of the requested funding includes increasing member access to essential resources, strengthen continuing education and workforce development through scholarships, support development of renewable energy workforce training, expand funding for rural and emerging farmers, and provide support for host communities. Their investment is $1 million as a company in those areas, and the grant application would be for legally allowed services. So I'll pass this on as Commissioner Felber addresses his questions.
Yep. Really, it's not a question on this. This board has come down hard in favor of public funding for base power load. And base power load is nuclear, gas. That power load that operates 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. The best day in my last week's monitoring of solar, the best day that I've seen is about 7% for solar. So this particular thing, and the reason we're supporting this as a board, is that this grant is part of a $9.5 billion grant that came from the federal government exclusively to expand solar energy and wind energy, those types of alternative energy sources. So we absolutely support the development of all types of power. We're going to need a lot more power. There's estimates that we'll need as much as 39% more power by 2050, depending upon whose stats you look at. So for that reason, even though this board has, like I said, we come out very strongly. I'm going to a symposium tomorrow on new power sources for Minnesota. I'll be there all day, and I'll be talking base power load. We talk base power load everywhere we go. But we also need to support these alternative forms to get the most power, to have reliable power for our constituents and for the economy that we're going to have in the future. I just basically wanted to be able to say that on the record.
Anyone else? Need a motion to approve 3.9.
Then I would make a motion we approve 3.9.
Moved by Commissioner Felber,
I'll second.
second by Commissioner Danielowski. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Moving on, Bruce, 3.19.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. This is a tangential question related. The actual item is somewhat specific. This is a renewal or approval of a solid waste license renewal for OTI Incorporated. However, given some of the other conversations the board has had, and then recently the city of Elk River, I believe Commissioner Hulse wanted to take the opportunity to kind of clarify where things stand overall within the yard waste disposal arena. Is that correct, Commissioner?
Yeah, so when I was looking through the packet, one of the items that was brought up in the packet item was the yard waste disposal procedure, and there's a significant change with Elk River. And I just, for the record, wanted that clarified so that the public understands what that change is that's happening with Elk River and what that means to the funding sources from the county to that particular item. And then continue on with the rest of the item. But I just wanted that clarified rather than it just be on a consent item as well.
And before that gets addressed, I just want to note for the board, so we do have an example of an ugly sweater in the room, but we also now have an example of a very beautiful sweater in the room. And I just want to go on record of saying beautiful ties in the room also count. So, with that, if you'd like to address the item.
I feel special.
For sure. Mr. Chair, members of the board, I am looking for a motion of approval for considering.
Is your mic on there? Check and see if it's on. And if it is, you need to speak a little closer. There you go.
I will move closer.
Thank you.
Consider approval of a solid waste license renewal for OTI. This is a yard waste facility, composting facility in the city of Elk River. And you're correct, we are now going to be licensing Elk River, the city of Elk River's yard waste site, separately from the municipal yard waste sites that fall under the SCORE grant agreement. So yes, any questions that you have about this particular license, I'd be happy to answer.
Would you explain the change that the city of Elk River is doing with respect to their residents and that they will not be receiving, therefore, SCORE grant funding from us?
For sure. So we have been in discussions with the municipal yard waste sites. This all came about because there was abuse with commercial haulers dropping off yard waste sites at all of the residential municipal yard waste sites. So as a group, we decided that we were no longer going to be accepting commercial yard waste at these sites because they're for the residents. And so the city of Elk River decided to do their collection separately because they would like to still collect commercial and be pro-business in the city of Elk River. So they're no longer going to be falling under that SCORE grant agreement that Sherburne County has with Becker, Zimmerman, and the city of Big Lake. And so they're going to be licensed separately, and they're going to be charging a small fee annually to their residents who fall in the city of Elk River. And residents who are outside the city are no longer able to drop off yard waste there, and vice versa. People who fall in Zimmerman, Big Lake, and Becker, the people from the city of Elk River would not be able to drop off yard waste at those municipal yard waste sites either.
So just for clarification, so the change is as for the residents of Elk River, they will now be required to pay a fee to get their badge, to be able to get into the yard waste site. But because Elk River is charging the residents, they're no longer going to receive SCORE funding.
That's correct, yep. They're gonna be covering their own costs separately. The Sherburne County will no longer be covering those costs under the SCORE grant agreement.
Okay. That's the clarification that I wanted specifically for the public and for the residents of Elk River.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Danielowski.
it's my understanding too that when there is a decision made to not allow, the way they've always worked is if you lived anywhere in the county, you could go to any one of the county compost supported by the communities that they are in and drop your compost. And now that Elk River wants to do it differently, then we no longer, because they can't, they won't let people from outside of the city come in, and that in turn then precipitated the other communities to say, okay, well then we will not allow them to come into ours. So that kind of precipitated the whole change, I guess.
Yeah, and one other clarification, that does mean that there will be a one-time change to the badging. So anyone that currently has a badge will have to go in and get rebadged so that they can enter the system, and at that time they'll get charged for their new badge.
That's correct. Because of this change, we're going to be resetting all of the yard waste access cards starting January 1st, 2026. So if you have a card, it will be reset, and you will have to go in and get it reset. And so there will be a fee if you don't have a card and you're getting a new card. But if you are bringing in your old card to just get it reset, there's no fee on that. So again, people who fall in Zimmerman, Big Lake, Becker, go to Big Lake, Becker, Zimmerman, City Hall. If you fall in the city of Elk River, go to the city of Elk River to get those cards reset.
Okay.
For me, one clarification, Elk River will be a yearly fee then?
That's correct. It's an annual fee. I think it's $25. I'm not 100% sure on that.
Big Lake, Becker, Zimmerman won't be, there'll be just a one-time fee to get the card?
There will be no fee if you're just resetting a card that you already have. So you bring in your old card, you get it reset, no fee. If you need a new card, there will be a $10 fee.
Okay, all right,
But no annual fees for using the site or anything like that.
all right, thank you.
And that's no different than what it's been in the past. If you lose a card,
That's correct. There's no
There's a fee to
change.
replace
It's been the
that card.
same.
yeah.
Okay, all right. I need a motion.
I'd make a motion to approve item 3.19.
Moved by Commissioner Halls,
Second.
second by Commissioner Danielowski. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Moving on to number 3.23, Bruce.
I do need to note for the record, I have to amend my earlier comments. We also have a couple other really nice winter sweaters. Lorraine, I can't see if yours is a winter one, but Bonnie sure is, so sorry I missed you there. And so gotta correct that to make sure we're good.
Well, we're not going to miss Dave.
Yeah, well, that's true. Well, and you notice this was really hard because Lucas was chomping at the bit to talk at the microphone too, but somehow he let Jillian do it. So, item 23 is a requested, by staff request to do some clarifications. Gina and Ben were working on this. It's an amendment to an existing MOU, and the Minnesota Land Trust raised a couple of issues that we need to clarify with the board and then give you a recommendation to move forward. So I'll have Ben explain that, and then we'll talk specifically about seeing if you're willing to amend your motion today.
Good morning, Ben.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. Thank you very much. Sorry for the last minute change here. We were just notified yesterday of an issue with the language in the amendment, and that is why we are pulling it from the consent agenda, just to bring it and address the issue head on with the board here this morning. The amendment itself is a pretty standard amendment. It is simply adding additional similar work to the MOU that had been approved in 2023. The issue with the amendment that was raised by Minnesota Land Trust is that the amendment seems to refer to a provision in the MOU about the process for requesting reimbursement. Now, this is structured as a pretty typical pass-through grant-funded project, and so the state passes funds onto the Lessard Sam Outdoor Heritage Funds. That then gives a grant to the county, and then we pass on, or excuse me, to the Minnesota Land Trust, who then passes the funds on to us for a particular project, and then we then cover the costs for the vendor. But that process where we provide documentation for reimbursement of expenses to the Minnesota Land Trust wasn't clearly articulated either in the underlying MOU or the amendment, and so it seems that their legal department is asking for some clarification. We're happy to work with them to iron that out. It does not necessarily change the fundamentals of what this amendment would do as far as adding new work to this project for the prairie restoration up at the two inlets at Bedehaaka Omashkut-Sagagans Regional Park, and it would not change the funding or the cost. The other change is that we would specifically be appending the fee schedule so that it's very clear just exactly what work is what the cost is for each item of work. I welcome any questions.
So the recommended motion would be to approve the amendment to the MOU with specific reimbursement terms and conditions to be worked out by staff and attaching the fee schedule. Those two additions to the amendment.
Have a motion? Going to have a motion?
I move to approve. Who's looking at me?
Moved by Commissioner Felber.
I'll second.
Commissioner Danielowski seconds. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
Very loud. Motion carries.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Just a couple minutes before doing, I can go through announcements real quick, so then we can take our break after that, if that works okay.
That's fine.
And I'll keep them brief. Just a calendar call. On the bottom of your agenda, we have future workshops and upcoming meetings. I did want to note we were going to have today a discussion on legislative strategies, but given the length of the agenda, I hope that you're okay deferring that till January. There's no immediacy to it, but Commissioner Danielowski had wanted to just have a general discussion about how we're going to approach some of our regional and state strategies going forward. Then in addition to that, just noting, of course, we'll have our employee recognition here in 5 minutes, and also wishing everybody a very merry and happy holiday season. Reminder to the commissioners that we do have our holiday luncheon. Dan, when that is?
Thursday, 11:30.
Yeah, Thursday, 11:30. There's two seatings, 11:30 and 12:30, right? And we do hope that you'll come. There is a rumor that there is a choir that is going to be going around the halls earlier that day, as well as singing at the luncheon seatings. And we do need some more singers. So,
He's looking at you.
yeah. So Jake said I need to get at least 2 commissioners to participate. Greg, how you doing today?
I think I'm somewhere else that day.
Oh, well, we do have a video choir available too, so you
Okay,
just
well,
walk around with
do
your
that.
phone. So.
I could record something.
Oh, okay. And so we do encourage you to come. It's really a festive time and a good time. Then a couple other things just for note, kind of exciting. Sky Central, which is also known as the St. Cloud Regional Airport Authority, or the airport, now called Sky Central, announced that they will be having the North Star Air Show next year. Very exciting. August 1st and 2nd, and the F-22 Raptors will be here. So really a nice thing to come and see and participate in. They haven't had one for several years, so I'm excited. And I'm assuming the Army National Guard will also do something with their helicopters there as well. And then announced by our Chambers of Commerce, but really a neat idea, is the National Civic Bee. And we're going to help advertise this. So March 21st, 2026 will be our regional and then state activities. It is for middle schoolers. The challenge is to discuss a community challenge and a solution to that challenge as part of the National Civic Bee. The national winner is a $100,000 scholarship. So it'll be really fun to promote that and get involved in that. And then last but not least, it is the last meeting of the year. And as Commissioner Gray noted, it just seems like yesterday that he gavelled his first meeting. And so it is a tradition that we will pass the gavel in January, but we do recognize Commissioner Gray for his leadership this year as board chair. And I will ask him maybe to come forward with you all for a picture. Dave is here. And the presentation is in appreciation of your service to the citizens of Sherburne County as the 2025 chairperson of the Sherburne County Board of Commissioners, presented the 16th day of December 2025 from all of us at Sherburne County. And I would note a personal note of thanks for your leadership. Your direct involvement with staff was really noted. You were very, very active, got around to a lot of the staff meetings, which was appreciated. It was also an interesting year because instead of just playing defense, somehow you were able to really streamline the board and play some offense this year, which was nice. Although I have to tell you, I wore out a pair of shoes at AMC because of you. So with that, Commissioner, if you want to come forward and receive your plaque, and other commissioners, if you want to come forward for a picture, and then we can go to the employee luncheon.
I'll give this to you and get out of the picture, so. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it very much. Everything needs to be moved up and back. But that's okay. You guys look like you've done this before. There you go. Good.
Do you want one with just Gary?
Sure.
Yeah.
All alone? Let's
We're always behind them.
Let's make them really feel this. There you go. Yeah, thank you. There's a fee for that. Yeah, there you go. Sign on it. Copies later. All right. You want to gavel us in recess then? Yep.
Think thin.
And for clarification, we're going to an employee recognition for 30 minutes, not a luncheon, correct?
Correct. It's a recognition. I apologize.
Yeah, appreciate the plaque. And just so that if any of you didn't grab the agenda off, we were supposed to go into the Ditch Authority meeting, but we're going to deviate from the agenda. We have employee recognition here at 9:30 to 10 o'clock, and then we'll be back to reestablish. So we are No. We'll reconvene the meeting, and I'll open the ditch authority with approval of ditch authority agenda.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Schubach, second by Commissioner Felber. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
I have the pay back to the general fund with the rain first, or is you going to go with the technician's report? We'll do that.
I'm gonna do the report first, yeah.
Yep.
Morning, everyone again, commissioners, ladies and gentlemen. Ditch Authority, for the last 2 months, I'm already looking forward to that picture again.
Beautiful.
Ditch 19, more beavers discovered by the farmer who does crops on that field. He rents it. Let me know when he was harvesting his wheat that there was the beavers were back, and ironically they seem to build on the same location every time. I'm here probably at least every other year, if not every year. They just keep moving in, or you don't get them all, and you think you got them all. You kind of running in circles. But this is north of County Road 4, just down the hill from our tower site in Becker Township. There's the larger dam. It's been here for a while. It's probably been there since late spring, I'm guessing. As you can see down in here, this is what happens when they block the ditch. The water gets high, and it starts to scour out the banks, the ditch banks. And that's a sand pool deposit from washing out the bank. When the water gets high enough, it goes over the top, but there's so much pressure, it just erodes that sandy bank, and there you go. So you can see where the ladder is where the ditch bank walked out. Obviously, we're not gonna be able to shimmy our way down that ditch bank, so Jeff brought a ladder. Jeff does blasting services out of Zimmerman, who I use for blasting dams. That's a charge, TNT charge. Some of these bigger dams, they take a little more power, a little more juice. I think we put about 2 charges of TNT and 11 ANFO charges. It's after everything was all tied together. There's another view. It's the whole dam. Every one of those, you can see where all the charges are pushed into the stick debris and the sand mud. They're down about probably 1.5 to 2 feet, depending on how soft it is and how far you can get it down there. And this particular day, it was a little bit frozen on top. And there's that sand pool again, looking downstream. Halfway up the ladder, got a fuse, about 4 to 5 minute fuse. Gives us plenty of time to pull the ladder and get out of there. And that's it for the slides. I do have a couple videos. Yeah. As you can see, it just basically vaporizes all that mud, turns it into rain. Almost looks like a hive of bugs.
It's like fertilizer to me.
Yeah, well, that too.
Combination of mud and water and beaver excrement.
Yeah, and this is afterwards. You can see it's pretty much gone. There's a few things remaining, but there's a pretty good hole there, but everything else will just kind of fill it in and it's open. As I've iterated before, it's probably about a third of the cost to have Jeff from Blasting Services take care of this dam than bringing in a backhoe and mobilization of a backhoe and that. It's average about a third of the cost, so it's very efficient. It's very easy. The mess is taken care of. You don't have no cleanup, except for maybe a few branches here and there if they're gonna be a problem. But that's all I have for now. It's been pretty quiet. As you noticed, it was pretty dry going into winter here. So, but if things, winter's kind of coming in like a lion, so who knows, maybe if we keep getting a bunch of snow and we might have a pretty interesting spring, time will tell. Any other questions, concerns, or comments?
And when the beavers find a good dam spot, they'll just keep coming back.
I know those damn things.
Well, I don't know how I ended up on this particular social media channel based on their algorithm. You may be missing your calling because I found a whole channel that's just the magic of clearing ditches. So
Really?
yeah, so it was pretty funny because it was beaver dam explosions and clearing out drain tile and all that stuff. So, but anyway, good work.
Send me the link. I'd like to check it out. Maybe I can learn something. All right, thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Lorraine?
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Commissioners. I am here for an RBA and your approval to take some monies from the ditch fund to repay loans that have been made to two of the ditches. These monies are loaned at year end if we have paid out more in expenses than we literally have in their cash balance at year end, because they have to be brought back to zero by year end. We do track them. Generally, those ditches are then billed. The properties that are assessed with it, so we can collect those fees that we pay out to blow up beaver dams and keep them running. So what I'm asking for today is on ditch 30, repayment of $10,115.73. And on ditch 32, $623.73. And that will bring them to zero balances in both of those ditch funds.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to transfer the money to approve.
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Halls. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Lorraine.
Thank you. And that's it.
It would be appropriate to accept the
Yep, we have to do that too.
technician's report.
Need a motion.
I'll make a motion
We
to
approve
accept.
the ditch technician's report.
And
by
I'll second.
Moved by Commissioner Felber, second by Commissioner Halls. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
Close.
We will close the Ditch Authority meeting and reopen the regular meeting. Regular agenda. Item number 8.1. Consider revocation of a conditional use permit for farm-related business wine bar. Carol Zimmerman, Lynn Wytachik. Lynn.
Good morning, Commissioners. These are the items from the November Planning Commission meeting. We had this room full of residents providing their input on one of the items that was on the agenda. Prior to the meeting today, I did hand out for you a revised transcript. We did notice that the transcript, we had it professionally typed up, and they had, some of the speakers were incorrect, so we made those corrections from what you originally received in your packet. None of the verbiage changed, it was just who the speakers were, so you did receive a copy of that for the record. And the first item is Carol Zimmerman. Property owner is C. Vetter Lane and Anthony Zimmerman to revoke an existing conditional use permit for a farm-related business, a wine bar, or set additional conditions on the existing conditional use permit. This is at 15913, 41st Street in Becker in Section 21, San Diego Township, on 5 acres in the agricultural district. And in your packet, you will see that you have the findings of fact. The Planning Commission recommended revocation of the conditional use permit with the 5 findings that were listed in your packet. And we would ask today that if you determine that you do want to revoke it, that we get some feedback from the board as far as the reasons for the revocation. The other option is to amend the existing conditions if you chose to go that route. And if you went with the revocation, we would bring something back to you at a future meeting based on the feedback that we receive.
Okay, is this time, is the permit holder here? Would they like to speak or make any comment?
Yeah. Do you want me to?
Yep. State your name and address.
Yep. Ian McCoy, I'm an attorney for the permit holder, 121 South 8th Street, Suite 1450, Minneapolis, Minnesota, 55402. I just wanted to bring to the Commission's attention that the justification given by the zoning board to revoke the CUP, we recommend that we don't revoke the CUP, but rather amend it. The zoning board's main concern seemed to be the conflict between the neighbors. Some neighbors love the wine bar, some neighbors really are not a fan, and that seemed to be the main justification that they gave for why they recommended revocation. I would just note that under Minnesota law, CUP is a property right, and there must be a legally justifiable reason to revoke a CUP. Under Minnesota law, neighborly disputes are not a valid reason to revoke a CUP. Minnesota Court of Appeals has undone revocation of CUPs if the justification is conflict between neighbors. So that some neighbors dislike the wine bar is not a justification. That some neighbors like the wine bar is not a justification. It's property right. My clients have a right to maintain that. There's not a legal justification. The concern is with CUP violations involving whether the bar closed at 6. CUP doesn't require customers to leave by 6. The zoning board actually agreed with that. There was a lot of discussion from the zoning board that the CUP should be amended to have a line that says all customers must be off the premises by 30 minutes from close. My clients are in agreement with that. We think that's the best option moving forward, is to amend the CUP, make it clear that all customers must be off the premises 30 minutes after close of business. Thank you.
Thank you, Ian.
Thank you.
Thoughts, questions, motions?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Schumacher.
I attended the meeting for planning and zoning. I sat over there where the newspaper is sitting now, and I'd like to also note that in the meeting packet, I didn't say anything. There's nothing. I didn't say anything. I sat there without talking. Okay, I just want to make sure. Okay. So I sat through the meeting and I took in the information that was given, and I want to just highlight back on page 36 of 57 of the report. I had mispronounced Jeff's last name here, but Jeff had said, you know, as me from Santiago Township and our board members, we'd like to see the small business in place. We would like to see changes, but we don't want to see it revoked. And so back to what the attorney had said, you know, there was a consensus to get a motion to make amendment changes to the CUP. It really worked hard at like getting around some of those items. I think there were 3 conditions that were modified. I need a little help on which 3 of those conditions were in that motion to be modified. But with that, I want to see what Jeff had said from Santiago Township to honor what the Santiago Township Board has presented and what they want to see in their community. And again, for me on the other side, we share the same school district, but we're in different processes of this. So for me, I want to see this amended and put into place for what Jeff had wanted or what the Santiago Town Board had wanted in this meeting minutes, which you can see on page 36 of 57 at the bottom of this. Here.
They didn't specify other than not to see it revoked. So it's kind of unclear exactly what they were.
And I need help from Lynn to help me with what was the adjustments that Jeff had said that Jeff wanted to see. That's where I can't find it in these meeting minutes.
So what happened is originally the board, there was a recommendation to approve, to amend the conditions on the conditional use permit. There were two conditions that they looked at amending. One was condition number 8, and to add a sentence after the hours of operation that said that all guests and customers must be off the property no later than 30 minutes after the hours listed above. That would give them, after they're done serving the customers, 30 additional minutes to be off the property and finish their wine. The other condition that was proposed to be changed was condition number 14. That was there may be no employees other than residents of the property and their children. So the only employees that would be allowed, if we amended it, was to add "and their children," not friends, not siblings. Those would be the only employees.
Yeah, and that was the amendment that was proposed, voted on, and then.
And that was denied, correct?
Denied, yes. Okay, that's, all right. But that was actually brought up by the members of the board, if I got this right.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Hulse.
could, for my edification, could we go over each of the written violations that were submitted and what the specific citation under the CUP that was violated according to those write-ups?
In the packets that were sent out to the Planning Commission for violations in 2024, on September 6, 2024, there was a violation letter sent regarding live music, food service, and days and hours of operation. On October 2nd of 2024, a letter was sent, follow-up letter regarding a conversation about violations and notification of a deadline to apply to amend the conditional use permit and apply for an additional IUP. And if you recall, last year, this came before the board again, and the board, they did apply to amend the CUP to have live music and other events, and those were denied by this board previously. That was what that related to. Then in 2025, the following violation letters were sent. On March 10th, 2025, a violation notice for no liquor license. On April 7th, 2025, a letter was sent, no Sherburne County liquor license. So they didn't have a state liquor license, and then it was determined they didn't have a county liquor license. And then June 4th, 2025, violation of hours. On August 4th of 2025, another violation of hours of operation. On September 3rd of 2025, a violation of an additional sign down near the road. They would put that sign out when they were open, is my understanding, and they would remove that sign. They also had another permanent sign, I believe, on that property as well down by the road. But you are allowed to have one sign not exceeding 12 square feet. So that was an extra sign that they had. And then on October 7th of 2025, a violation was sent for hours of operation and the number of vehicles on site. And in that case, there was a sheriff's deputy that was out there counting vehicles.
And can you refresh our memory, Lynn, what are the amount of vehicles allowed on site per the CUP?
I believe it's 20.
20.
Thank you. And it was found to have how many at that time?
I want to say 23 off the top of my head, but I may be incorrect on that. They could have up to 20 customer vehicles on the site and no more than 40 people at any given time, and the violation letter was regarding the number of vehicles.
All right, thank you.
And, Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Schumacher.
and just circling back for disclosure, I graduated from 477 High School. And I think I graduated with Mr. Sacri's son, if it's Joe Sacri, because that was also brought up in the process that they wanted to know if there was any prior communication before. So if he has a son named Joe, I actually vacationed with his son in the mid-2000s. So I don't want to change the record, but Mr. Sacri can obviously say if he was in Wyoming snowmobiling with me in the early 2000s as well.
And Commissioner Schumacher, is there anything about what you just provided in disclosure that would in any way affect your ability to be fair and impartial on rendering a decision in this matter?
No.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Greg?
You would know.
Well, I guess what we're actually considering here is, since I've been on the board, I'm beginning to have to concede that some businesses don't fit well on 5-acre platted or unplatted properties. You know, the potential proposed modification, you know, would increase the amount of time it's permitted, which seems to be a repeated problem in the past, and would also increase the number of employees, which would be something, if you're increasing the number of employees, you're talking about increasing capacity. You know, the last time we looked at this, there were requests to increase the capacity. There was a new parking spot built, and they were asking to double the capacity of this. You know, so that's really what's before the board is this actually suitable for this size property, or was this experiment that didn't work out for us? You know, and that's what's really before us here. I mean, obviously, the Planning Commission recommended that we revoke, but, you know, we can do whatever, as a board, we want to do. Not whatever we want to do, but within the parameters in the rules. Yeah, we can't just make things up as we go along, I've been told, so.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Schumacher.
I also think in giving information to the CUP, the specific one, the goalpost has moved a couple times, and we're trying to bring the goalpost very directly and change it. That's why modifying some of the conditions would make it easier and more clear and more effective in the policy so that it could be described. Because in the Planning Commission's conversation, there was a long definition about family, not your cousin's friend's uncle's brother, but more defined as the child of the owner versus that. And so that's the part of like bringing the policy together so that it can be achieved and they can stay within those guidelines of what the guidelines that this board would set for policy.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Danielowski.
Thank you. I did watch the Planning Commission meeting online, hence I did see you. You were busy rearranging furniture. Good job. That being said, in listening to it, I know there were some things that came forward that we had addressed already. We had already addressed the liquor license issues. We did state at that time that that was done. We hold them harmless for that process and what happened through that process. To me, what seems to be coming up more frequently and maybe needs some more clarification is the time that people are leaving after closing. I think if we can get a better understanding and between the parties as to what that does mean. In a prior life, I worked in a bar, and closing time was, last call was 15 minutes prior to, at that time it was 1 o'clock. And then that meant that people were working on getting their beverages done, and you want them out the door as close to that 1 o'clock time frame as possible. So that being said, I think for clarification to, being as this is also in a neighborhood, giving them some time for their patrons to be able to finish up their chit-chatting and get done and get off the site. I'm open to looking at something that can be clarified to recognize that fact. Also, the sign violation. Seems to me there seems to be some misunderstanding of what constitutes a sign. Is a flag a sign that says wine? The sign that you said is permanently at the end of their driveway, I think that can be worked through. So myself, at this moment in time, to get better clarification, I would be open to the CUP amendment. And then this would be something that, once this is done, there's a clear understanding of the expectations of the CUP requirements and not to see anybody here again.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Commissioner.
When we originally approved this, what we were looking at and what we thought we were approving would be a winery that sells a limited amount or that sells wine on premises on a very quiet, limited period of time to a very limited size crowd. And that is what we put in the CUP. And even if you consider the violations to be misunderstandings or whatever, I would not be in favor of extending these hours or doing anything that allows them to extend the number of people that are there. You know, clarification perhaps on the original CUP is that it has to be closed down and people have to be gone. And that it is the family, it is the residents who can serve that. I mean, if you cannot do it, I've worked in bars. I worked in a bunch of bars, in restaurants. If you can't serve 20 people with 2 people, you know, I mean, 2 people can serve a lot of people at a bar, you know. I've done more than twice that by myself at a bar in an evening. So that should be all the people you need to serve 20. So, I mean, if we allow any sort of additional modifications like that, that just opens up more issues down the road. The smart thing, it seemed to me, if we decide to not revoke this, would be that we hold stringently to the original plan. And if the original plan doesn't work, then perhaps this is just a swing your fist moment, right? That, you know, as I always say, that your right to swing your fist ends at the tip of your neighbor's nose, right? And maybe it's just gotten past that. So, and I'm saying if
Mr. Hulse?
if we decide to override the planning and zoning board.
Yeah, Mr. Chair. So I've read through all of the transcripts. I've read through all of the correspondence that we received over the last several months. I believe we are faced with 2 distinct items here, one of which is irrelevant to our decision. And that part is the conflict between the neighbors. That's irrelevant to our decision. There is no compromise there anyway. There is one group that wants it completely gone. There's obviously the applicant that wants their business to continue. However, that's irrelevant to the decision. The only thing that's relevant to me is whether the CUP is being followed or not. There have been violations of the CUP that I think are well documented. I think there are other violations of the CUP that may be a violation of the letter but not the intent, or vice versa. Where my head's at on this is that, and it has been since the original expansion was brought to us, I'm sorry, is that the original CUP needs to be followed. So if we were to move forward with the CUP intact, I guess my position is that the applicant had, if there's any clarifications that we need to make on the CUP because they are ambiguous, we should do that. But beyond that, it's the applicant's responsibility to understand the CUP, understand the intent of the CUP, and to abide by the CUP to the letter of the law. And if that is not doable, then future actions could be taken. Or if they choose not to comply, or if for some reason they are unable to comply with the letter of the CUP, then future action can be taken. But I guess at this point, my intent is, let's look at, does there need to be a clarification on an item or two, just to make it perfectly clear to the applicant what the expectations are? And if there is or is not, then it falls on the applicant's responsibility to make sure they comply. Does that make sense?
Mr. Chair, if I may, I think there is some relevance, because when we approve an IUP or a CUP, one of the first things that we do in our findings of fact, and this is a standard one, the conditional use will not be injurious to the use of enjoyment of other property in the immediate vicinity for purposes already permitted and not substantially diminish or impair property values within the immediate vicinity. To the use and enjoyment of other property. That is something that we approve on every single IUP. And notwithstanding the cases cited here, which I have not read, so we actually have it in what we issue, that the neighbors matter, right? If I'm understanding that phrase correctly.
Sorry, can you repeat it again?
Yeah, there's two different legal standards you're talking about.
Right.
Okay. Conditional uses are a permitted use with conditions. So under the reasonableness standard, they can coexist. The standard that the attorney referenced is that just simply neighborhood opposition in and of itself is not a basis for approval or denial.
All right, thank you. So, the complaints matter, I believe, in the long run. Not all by themselves, because, everybody doesn't like everything, so.
Commissioner Felber, if I may, are you suggesting or commenting that where the comments affect the suitability of the use to the area, that's where you think that they have some relevance?
Yes, ma'am, thank you.
Mr. Chair, if I can address the comment made by Commissioner Hulse regarding commentary, just a note, because of the way we're structured, there is that gap between the Planning Commission having a public hearing, their deliberation, their recommendation, and today. If there was additional material you received that you didn't share with me, I would ask you to do so. But again, the period for public comment is over. And so anything that was received after the Planning Commission to now, whether it's of new information or of value that it would have to be included in the record, that's something that needs to be presented and looked at by Lynn, the attorney, and me. We did not see anything, so the public comment is what it is, to your point about receiving additional information. And I would just note, we have to be really intentional with the record in front of you, whether that's the violation record or whether that's the CUP with the conditions. The challenge is that, it's like any contract, it's never going to be perfectly written. And if you have individuals who want to try to skirt around that one way or the other, we're going to be back here. We aren't back here with every CUP in the county. So there is some sort of conflict going on here that needs to be resolved, whether that's by amendment or by whatever action this board takes. Otherwise, our fear is we're going to be back here again and again and again.
Right. And for clarification, I received no additional information.
We did receive 2 emails that were emailed to commissioners that were reviewed by the attorney and I and Lynn, and it was determined that it was repetitive to what was received in the record.
Yep, that's correct.
We had, what was this, 170 some pages in our packet? We had plenty to read. So.
Yeah, and just for the record, I did forward what I did receive on to staff.
We all,
yeah, I think you all have, and again, the comment we made, 3 weeks ago or whatever, was germane to that, which is, if you receive something, let us look at it,
Commissioner Schumacher.
I'm going back to what Jeff said. Are you sure there was only 2 conditions, number 8, number 14? I swear I remember him saying 3 modifications to.
I believe it was 2, but we can check the transcript.
I know, and I tried to find it in this transcript. I just wanted to make sure that we're in the conversation, we're honoring what Santiago Township wanted, and I thought he made three numbered adjustments on there, and I just couldn't find the third one, but I just wanted to reiterate, I thought there was three.
Would the one have something to do with the sign?
Just don't remember.
Okay.
Don't remember.
The other thing that I would note is when a conditional use permit for a business is approved, it is a business. And so a lot of the issues that we're dealing with here are issues that have already been litigated when it comes to a regular bar.
Yep.
Closing hours are pretty well established. If your friends stay in a bar after it closes, there's been litigation about whether it's still a bar or whether it's a bunch of social gathering activities. I think we need to think about that this is a business operating. The time it operates is different than a Vikings social gathering, on Brad's couch. And so both the applicant and the county need to have a clear understanding that we are permitting a business. It needs to operate as a business during those hours. What happens 3 hours later with a social gathering is a very different animal. But the more that they meld, the more there's conflict. And so the clarifications that you're alluding to, think about that rational difference. When is it a business, when it is not?
And it's much more difficult to assign in an open air bar than in a bar that has walls.
Well, it is, but
There isn't a clear separation between this is our liquor sales area and this is the outside.
yeah, it is, but it isn't. I'll give you, completely disanalogous example. If you run a home-based business, the IRS tells you how to calculate the percentage of time you spend in that office, whether or not you can take square footage. It's been litigated. And so the bars are the same thing. It's better that it's an open air than if it was, let's say, a garage, because at what point does a garage become personal space versus a business space? So when we go down this path, we're clarifying this is the business. I mean, there are situations, I don't know in Minnesota statute, but in other states, where they've literally iced these types of issues. They say you're a business until 2 o'clock. Nothing can occur until 3 o'clock to make sure everything clears out. I mean, it's had to get that extreme to say there's a break in time here. We're not to that point. I don't know what Minnesota statute says about that. But if the mindset is we're giving you permission to run a business, this is how it's going to be run, these are the hours of operation. That's different than coming back and saying, well, we stayed for the Vikings game. So if that's the area you want to clarify, just think about that mentality a bit if it helps you.
And Mr. Chair, that was one of my thoughts too, that once you've been approved for that CUP to run that business in those operating hours, you are no longer a residence during that time. You are a business during that time. And so things you would normally do probably don't fall under when you've turned that area into your business for that period of time. So I agree with what you're saying on that one.
Commissioner Schumacher.
Mr. Chairman, I also agree if we just address the time that the place can be open and the amount of days per month. So I would ask the planning and zoning administrator, the time that this can be opened is from what time to what time, and it's only 2 times per month is what we're talking about. The limit, 2 weekends, yep, and then it's from, please fill me in the blank on the time it starts.
Permitted hours of operation are from noon to 6 on Fridays and Saturdays from noon to 5. Fridays and Saturdays noon to 6 and Sundays from noon to 5 p.m. And it's 2 weekends a month, the first and third weekend, Memorial Weekend through the first weekend in October.
Time.
Mr. Chair, if I may suggest perhaps the zoning administrator could also speak to language concerning enforcement should the commissioners adopt modified language and enforcement then with that language, at least as it's proposed right now.
The additional statement that was proposed to be added was for condition number 8, with regard to hours of operation. It would state, all guests, customers must be off the property no later than 30 minutes after the hours listed above. So they would still close at those same times, but everybody needs to be gone within 30 minutes of the close time. The other one that was discussed was condition number 14. The existing condition number 14 states there may be no employees other than residents of the property But we are proposing to add, if you wanted to go that route, there may be no employees other than residents of the property and their children. So only their children.
So what I'm getting is it seems like the board is reluctant to revoke. So then what I would propose then is that we continue, if we're not going to revoke, that we continue the CUP with strict adherence to the original requirements of the CUP, and that would mean that there would be no more than the 2 residents or a resident of the building as employees, and that all vehicles would be off the property by the listed closing hours on the original CUP. That seems more than reasonable under the circumstances.
My turn.
I don't want to do this again.
This was under the pretense of or originally under an agricultural-related business, correct?
Farm-related business, yes.
The applicant voluntarily calls it the Boulder Creek Wine Bar.
Correct.
There's a reason bars belong in commercial districts. It eliminates all of this employee talk, hour talk. People can leave their cars whenever. They can stay after for a certain length of time to finish their cocktail, whatever that may be. But to me, it's like we've gotten way away from being an agricultural-related business. Believe me, I've owned one for 38 years. I understand what they are, what they do. The idea that the neighbors don't mind, I completely understand where you're coming, but I appreciate Commissioner Svelberg's comment in regards to that. Yeah, I think we have to put all of that into for the record. Even at the Planning Commission, they stated that there were individuals that said if they're producing wine and want to sell it along the roadside, fine. That one of the Planning Commission members stated that it was getting farther away from an agriculture-related business and it was more of a bar. And when it's deemed, when they're given a CUP in a residential area, all of their personal stuff that they have, friends coming and going and all of that, that's thrown out the window at that time. They have to run this as a business at the time they're open, period. I mean, you can't say that, yeah, my grandma and grandpa are coming over and that's going to be another car and my aunt and uncle are coming over. No, these are all cars related to the business and those conditions have to be followed, period. I think most of these conditions were violated, whether intentionally or unintentionally, right after the CUP, the first year the CUP was granted, correct?
Correct. We had a number of issues previously. And I will state, now we're spending staff time having to send employees out on a Saturday night to sit and count cars and pay for mileage. And now sheriff's deputies are having to go out there and they're exceeding the number of cars that are out there. And we just want them to follow the conditions of what they were originally granted so that not additional tax money is being spent policing something. And so if they would just follow the conditions that were originally put in place, that's what the zoning office would like to see. And, we constantly, and you are aware of this, Gary, at Planning Commission, do you understand the conditions? Are you willing to follow the conditions? We specifically ask those questions and ask those of the applicant because we don't like running into this. We don't like having to do enforcement. It's not our favorite thing to do. And we just like people when they're doing what they're supposed to.
And for clarity, when the original CUP was granted, they were asked that these 18 conditions would be followed, and they said yes.
Correct.
And I think I was at that first commissioners meeting and stated that how are we going to enforce all 18 conditions, I think, that were on there. One condition that's on there right now, it states that there's supposed to be a log of the activities kept. Has that log ever been checked?
We have not specifically asked for that log, but we certainly could.
Okay.
And Mr. Chair, if I may, I mean, and the drift, simply, the drift from an ag-based business, that's fairly demonstrated by the fact that when they came back and asked for additional parking versus just taking, if you had additional space on the property, turning it into additional ag production space, growing some other sort of a plant there. So
also with live music and food.
Well, I'm just, you know, I mean, just the drift, to come back and ask for that instead of growing additional.
Guys, I'd suggest that's not in front of you, so I would really suggest.
Thank you.
No, we don't need commentary from the public. So any conversation about a request or a denial for an amendment or a future CUP is really not germane to the record today.
Okay.
What I would suggest is I will tell you staff did entertain the possibility of requiring, essentially I'll call it a security plan and a enforcement plan, but we did not feel that at this time that was a reasonable amendment to the CUP. Should you amend the CUP or leave it as it is, and we continue to have enforcement issues, at that time in some future juncture, it may be reasonable to say, these costs are borne upon you. I'll give you an example. If somebody's having a special event, you know, a barn dance, and it's loud, and they're gonna have alcohol, we may require the hiring of a security officer for something like that. We're not to that point yet, but I think you're getting to a point where, you know, what Linda's saying is this is consumptive of time and staff time that we don't see with other CUPs. If you're going to recommend that we clarify the language, it would be towards, you know, being clear what enforcement means, being clear what the rules are, and expecting the permit holder to adhere to them so that we're not back here. The other option, as we laid out, is to revoke it or just do nothing. So those are the three options you're at.
Mr. Chair, off of Mr. Administrator's point too, Ms. Wojtaszek talked about enforcement issues and cost, and so off of those comments, perhaps she could also provide some information from the commissioners as to enforcement where it concerns determining who vehicles belong to or who is at the property with the current language.
The current language does not address who is leaving the property, so it's very hard to know. When we had testimony at Planning Commission, you know, there were a number of people that frequent the wine bar that said, well, we're friends too, so we end up staying later. And so it's very hard, to, as stated previously, to draw the line between that. And so if the bar is operating, all those people should be off-site within the time limit that's set.
All right. That's why I say, I mean, that's why we need the strict adherence if we're going to continue this. It has to be strict adherence to those hours, and it has to be done.
I think if we're going to amend it, it might be very difficult to put all of the amendments and go through all 18 conditions to see what they are. No.
No, and I don't know if you're done with your discussions. I would say if that's where the board is going, the direction to staff would be to prepare amendments to the conditional use permit consistent with the discussion today. We've identified 2 of them that were discussed at the Planning Commission that staff thinks are reasonable to amend. Lynn, that was condition 8 and condition
14, I believe.
14. If there are others that you would like to amend, it would be good for you to identify them now. Now, Commissioner Felber's indicated making 6 o'clock the hard stop. We said 6 o'clock for service, 6:30 for wrap-up. So we can bring back option A and option B on that one, and you can decide, is 30 minutes for phase-out okay, or do you want it to be, you need to stop serving at 5:30 because the doors close at 6. That's a decision you can make. So that one, in that particular case, will bring back that option if you say, we want to talk more about this condition and amending it to clarify it. But today, what would be helpful is to know what conditions you think have a basis for amending, other than the 2 that we've identified, if you agree with those 2.
I'll go first. Mr. Chairman, I'll go first.
Commissioner Schumacher.
In order. Mine would be 8 and 14, according to what Jeff from Santiago Township, the township supervisor who was appointed to the board, had mentioned. That would be my 2 that were modified that I'd like to see changed.
In discussing the time, most businesses that I've been associated with in the bar industry, they always have that 15 minutes prior to closing. You give that last call. That gives you time, like I said prior, to start to wind down. I don't know if 6:30 is necessary. If you do that last call 15 minutes prior to your shutdown time, that does give your people time And I'd even be open to possibly your patrons have to be off premise by 6:15. That gives you plenty of time to wrap up, in my opinion. So I'm open to those thoughts to close that down. So that would be number 8, obviously. And number 14, that one, I'm still thinking on that one, sorry.
No, that's fine. And I think what I'm hearing on 8 is to bring option A, option B, option C, or just open-ended. But that's one you want to focus in on amending, so. And then option 14 was mentioned by one commissioner.
And I also want to clarify what constitutes a sign.
Okay. Yeah, we can look at that. I think since we considered that enforcement issue resolved, what we would want to do is just clarifying language, not necessarily materially changing the condition, so.
Mr. Chair, can you, Lynn, can you reread the recommended language for item 14? Condition 14, I'm sorry.
The recommended language is there may be no employees other than residents of the property and their children.
And just for clarification, we should put in adult children because you are working with alcohol.
Agreed.
Yeah. Again.
All right, seeing no other conditions you would like to have us amend, then I would think by consensus of the board, we will take this discussion back. We will work on language to amend condition 8 and condition 14, and we will schedule it for formal board action in January.
Just a question for the board.
Oh, and the sign clarification, I apologize, which is condition.
That one I have to look up, sorry.
Let me just a question for the board. We're talking about the 2 conditions at this point, condition 8 and condition 14, correct?
Mm-hmm.
I guess from my perspective, is there a need to bring this back, or can we make a motion today?
I think we would recommend, since there's a difference on the closing time and maybe the requirement for a last call, I'd bring it back. Unless you think you can get to consensus. But just given the nature of a conditional use permit, and we're not under a 60-day rule, I would ask for staff time to make it crystal clear.
All right.
Sorry.
And that would give us plenty of time to stay within that 60-day rule, right?
We're not under 60-day rule.
We are
with this
not.
conditional
Okay,
use
so we're
permit.
good.
I would just, again, suggest that anybody who attempts to contact you, you just simply thank them for their comment and forward it to me, because we don't get 10, 12 bites at the apple here under state law.
Okay, thank you.
Can we add any conditions to this?
If there is a legal basis for it, what are you thinking, sir?
Well, I'm just concerned that these conditions have been overlooked, gray areas, whatever you want to call that, you know, if this is violated again in any capacity, that it's considered for revocation again? Is that possible or not?
We consider the basis for revocation today to be sufficient, should you act on it. So there is not a requirement to add another condition. The basis for revocation is there today. Should there be additional violations, that would just be stronger in the future.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, just to clarify, condition number 13 specifically states there may be one non-illuminated sign totaling not more than 12 square feet in size located on the property but outside of the public road right-of-way. And so that was the condition that was specific to the sign. The other comment I did want to make is, you know, when the sheriff's deputy was out there, condition number 7 states that there may be no more than 20 customer vehicles on site at any time. I'm wondering if that's something we could ask for the applicant to give us some additional information, could be via email between now and the next county board meeting, as to how they're going to make sure that they're able to stay within those limits, because that was one of the issues we had previously. There was some testimony at the Planning Commission meeting about how are they going to address ensuring that they don't exceed the maximum number of vehicles. which ties in with the maximum of 40 people on site.
So if the board would like us to do additional work, then I would add those 2 conditions to your list, and then have the direction be that we explore those for potential further clarifications. And those were conditions, the 2 added conditions? Number 7 and number 13. 7 and 13.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I agree with 7 and 13 as stated by the county administrator.
I'm still, number 16, the owner will maintain a log on the activities occurring on site that include dates, times, and a number of guests are on site, and make available to the planning and zoning office if requested.
Would it be reasonable for us to ask the applicant prior to the next meeting or prior to January 1st, providing that to our office? Is that something we would be able to do? I would ask that of the county attorney.
That's well within your purview of the current condition as it stands.
So I think that's reasonable, and you have that information before you prior to the next county board meeting that we would rediscuss this.
Okay.
Be great.
So they could email that report to me directly or mail it to me directly.
And it should be readily available, correct?
They should have that because they're supposed to have been
One of the
doing that all
conditions.
along. Yep,
So by the end of the week or tomorrow?
sure.
Okay,
End of the week is fine.
okay.
All right. You guys feel
Any other
good?
further discussion?
No, I was just going to say that, and hopefully there can be I know this has nothing to do with that the neighborhood out there can kind of come together and work together, I guess, is my hope.
So again, I'm just looking for consensus of the board. We're going to look at now 5 conditions, including your addition of the log.
Yep.
And bring back recommended language, either to amend or to clarify, and then you will review that and take formal action in January.
Yes.
Okay.
Anyway.
Is that okay with everybody? I'm looking for consensus of the board. Okay,
That makes
thank you.
sense.
So you don't need to table this item. It was for discussion and direction, and we've received that today.
Okay. Okay.
Would you like me to move on to the next item?
Yes, ma'am. That'd be great.
Next item is Dave Jurek. Property owner is Ewing Properties LLC. They're requesting residential preliminary and final plat approval of Fun Farm. And that's one lot. It's in Section 16 of San Diego Township in the Ag District. Planning Commission recommended approval of the simple plat with the 2 conditions listed.
I would motion that we approve the planning, the final simple plat of Fun Farm.
With conditions. I'd make a second to approve that with the conditions.
I just want to know who came up with the name Fun Farm.
Who's there for it?
That was in the packet. It said his son.
Everybody wants to live in Fun Farm.
I believe they may have had a wedding on site, if I recall correctly.
It said his son came up with it in the
Yep.
packet.
And
I
so
do-
they called it Fun Farm.
Yep, I do recall it in the packet. I just wanted
I think
to,
they shortened it from Funny Farms.
Well,
I just wanted the viewers online to recognize that.
Motion second.
We have a motion
And a second.
and a second.
With
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Passed.
thank
Fun
you.
Farm's passed.
Fun Farm is passed.
Moving on, 10.3 or 8.3. The Auditor Treasurer's Monthly Report.
Good morning again, Commissioners. Enclosed in your packet is your November trial balance prepared by my accounting manager, Sherburne Kapsner. The report includes ARPA funds of $1,001,098.78 and the Recorder's Compliance unallocated account of $355,914 in the general fund. Also enclosed are the 3-page investment report as prepared by Finance Officer Brenda Davis. Investment earnings are above the targeted budget in the amount of $1,351,015.63 at month end. Interest earnings year to date total over $3,500,000 compared to $3,100,000 last year. Ahead of last year by $395,385.26. Also included is your budget to actual report. That's on page 6, and that has your budget to actual by function. You can keep, that's the one there, okay? This is modified accrual report, so the investment earnings included in that entry include unrealized gains on the investments. The final page of my report is our tax settlement distribution for period 2. That has been distributed, and the balances were paid out on December 3rd of this year to the entities involved, township school districts, etc. A copy is enclosed for your information. The period 3 tax settlement will be distributed in January of 2026 after the end of the year is fully balanced. We are looking ahead to our audit of the 2025 finances for Sherburne County. Clifton Larson Allen will again be conducting our audit per our contract. The team will tentatively be at the county. They said January 19th, but since that is a holiday, it will more than likely be January 20th to start their preliminary fieldwork and our auditing for the 2025 process. Do you have any questions for me?
Just one, I noticed that Mr. Fleming slowed down on the EDA when he was scrolling. That's why I didn't keep going as fast as you wanted it to. Yeah, he slowed down on that line item for the EDA on the screen.
Gotta see the important things here.
Need a motion to approve?
I would make that motion that we approve the report.
Moved by Commissioner Felber,
Second.
second by Commissioner Schubacher. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Okay, let me see what this is.
Thank you. Number 8.4, consider of approval of resolution 121625 AD 3248, establishing the 2026 salaries of county commissioners. Bruce Meslett, County Administrator.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. The most fun thing you get to do every year. By statute, commissioners cannot set their own salaries, so technically you sit as a new board on January of 2026, so the prior commission, you, have to set the salaries for the next commission, you. We used to use a formulaic approach to bring a recommendation to the board. The board changed that a few years ago and just said, bring us the raw data, and you guys would make your own decision. So you have that data in front of you. Dan and I can go through it with you if you want, but we thought it was easier just to give you some baseline information. So the compensation salary COLA adjustment for next year is 2.5%, Dan? 3%. So that would be what other staff would be receiving for cost of living adjustments for next year, if that helps you in your deliberations. What we need from you today is to fill in the blank and to approve it.
Thoughts?
I'm personally in favor of at least the cost of living adjustment that everybody else got. And probably not this year, but I think next year we need to start taking a look at mileage. That just future concept.
Commissioner Danielowski.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In regards to Commissioner Felber's comment, just for a little bit of history, that it used to be the county board received a pay
Mileage and per diem.
and mileage and per diem.
Per diem and mileage, yeah.
There was a period of time where they looked at rolling in the separate mileage and per diem into the commissioner's pay. So I think that needs to be recognized, that separate of that, we would be getting mileage based at the federal rate, and also there was per diem attached to the meetings that you attended. So just for background information as to why it is the way it is now. Just wanted to make that clarification.
I understand that, but it's just reason I threw in the mileage is depending upon what committees you serve on. I mean, I'm not saying mileage
No.
for anything inside the county.
And I agree with you. I'm just giving the history of where we've come from where we were.
Yeah.
So I'm not disagreeing that mileage adds up.
Commissioner Schumacher,
Oh,
what do you think?
you guys sent me that fleet report. Was that
I
the
did.
miles? Will you tell me what that was? I was gone, so
Yeah, I mean, part of the,
fleet report, like I drove too many miles. I was just checking.
yeah, no, you were driving too fast. That's what it
Nope,
was. So, yeah,
nope,
yeah,
I
yeah.
don't think that was it.
Oh, wait, no, that was Dan. Dan was speeding, so, yeah. So,
Poor Dan.
yeah, poor Dan. That's okay. He actually dinged me for speeding once, so, yeah, we get all kinds of reports on our fleet. No, part of the goal was to make the fleet available for commissioners to reduce the demand on your own vehicles, but it also has to go back to the committees you serve on, as Commissioner Felber said, and if you rotate the committees, then there's an equity value there. If you talk to your other county commissioners from other counties, it gets to be a contentious issue, especially if one person serves on, let's say, a planning commission and they do tours plus meetings. So you might have 2 events per month on the planning commission, where if you're on a quarterly committee, it meets once every 3 months. And so to round all that out, the ethic of this board was the salary was increased to compensate for the average per diem and salary of the commissioners at the time. And that was, again, and then also there was a goal to rotate committees so that one person didn't have extraordinary difficulties. But again, geographically, it is a challenge. We try to make fleet vehicles available, but it is a cost for some of you.
You know, and historically, we came on right away and we cut the automatic raise. We cut that like the first year. So,
Yeah, but there are downsides. I would just say if you revisit the per diem and mileage, there are downsides to that process. And
I'm
you're
not
also
saying look
gonna,
at it this year, because it's going to be a very, very long conversation.
right, and you're also going to have to deal with the fact that your salary was bumped up when that change was made. So do you bump it down to compensate, or do you add more money to your budget to compensate? So
And
that's
then-
an interesting conversation you will have. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when I did come on board, Mr. Chairman, it was offered to move one of the fleet cars to Zimmerman to the location for us there, so it'd make it easier for maybe me or Commissioner Falber. And I've opted at that time, and I still probably opt just to have it down here, located at the government center.
Did they offer that to you?
And we did that for Becker too. Yeah, we had one stationed in Becker as well, so.
Did we? Okay.
Commissioner Halls?
Yeah.
You don't have to.
He leaned
I'm just
forward.
throwing you under the bus right now.
Well, look, here's my challenge. As of today, we are still a part-time job, right? We are on the edge. The next couple of largest counties have moved, are at the point where I think their commissioners are full-time positions. I know Wright County is.
Can I correct you a little bit?
Go ahead.
You're technically not part-time. It's not even considered part-time. There are counties that do have part-time or full-time, you are correct. But you're still at the threshold where it's a compensated position than necessarily what would be considered part-time for salaries and benefits, so.
Mm-hmm. So, I think one of the challenges that we have is with the budgets and the levies that are being imposed upon on the taxpayers of Sherburne County. And my challenge with this is that somebody has to set the example. And if not us, who? I agree it needs to be compensated fairly. I wouldn't oppose a discussion about, adding mileage or something next year. I don't want to do it this year. Because I do think I think there's a compromise on the committees, because if you rotate the committees, you're losing institutional knowledge, right? We get good at our committees if we stay on our committees.
Right.
But that means someone's doing the committees that require more travel than other committees. But I think there's value to us having consistency on those committees. Now, it doesn't mean Doesn't mean we don't need to trade them up once in a while. And I think we look at them at the beginning of the year and we see if there's some equity there and something needs to be changed. But, so I think that's a fair point. But I also think it's important that we have consistency on those committees because you do build institutional knowledge, right? You get good at those committees. So I want to be careful on that. But, you know, I don't want to be in the position that I feel like a lot of government agencies are, which are, you know, we're fiscally conservative, well, until it comes to my budget. So I think it's important to set the example. I wouldn't mind, I don't mind a small cost of living allowance. I think it should be the lowest in the county, if there's anything at all. You know, I think it should be, you know, if it's somewhere between 0 and 2% is where my head's at. We're seeing a lot. We're seeing some of the largest levy increases in the history of the state right now. And it is too easy as a government entity to say, well, we're out of money, we just got to raise taxes. So getting a little bit farther along on my soapbox here, I just, my personal opinion is I think we need to set the example. I realize it requires a personal sacrifice from the commissioners, but I think you lead by example, and I would put our, you know, I would put our raise at somewhere between 0 and 2%.
Well, Mr. Chair, if I may.
Commissioner Felber.
I have not had a day where I haven't done a half a day of commissioner work or related work, and obviously some of that, you know, I brought on myself by being the chair of the Governor's Energy Transition Advisory Committee. That has a lot to do with the 8 hours I will put in on the job tomorrow in Minneapolis. However, I have not had a day where I haven't done at least a half a day or more for 15 straight days at this point in time, and it's about to go to 17. So I don't think 3% is unreasonable, and that would be, once again, a personal opinion.
Mr. Chair, I just wanted to clarify too that left to our own devices, I don't think we'd be seeing what we've seen now for what we are having to do, but we obviously have outside forces that are shifting things onto us that we have no opportunity to put anywhere else, unfortunately, but the levy to the taxpayers. And I think we need to recognize that. There's the state, and not quite sure what's going to come of the federal because they're doing reductions, but yet we still have to perform the services that are mandated to us at a cost. So I just want to make sure that's clarified, that that is not a lot of it by our hand. We're very fiscally conservative. But when they push it onto us, unless we're going to start having bake sales and selling coupon books, that could be an idea. We got to look for other ways to raise revenue.
Mr. Chair, and there's one point that I did want to bring up earlier. We are one of 10 states that, for example, Health and Human Services is state mandated and county administered. We are one of 3 states that the counties are expected to carry the administrative burden of that system. So there are only 3 states that push the costs of Health and Human Services to the counties and expect the counties to carry that fiscal load. And that's, I think, to your point. And what we have seen over the last 5 years is the continuing to push regulation and requirements, specifically through HHS, to the counties, expecting the counties to just pick up the cost. Not just expecting it, but mandating it in state statute. And so, and so and the reason they do that is because none of the state legislators, when they put forth a bill, want to carry a fiscal note. That fiscal note describes what the cost is. If they purely push the cost down to the counties, they don't have to add a fiscal note to that. Basically means it costs nothing to them. It costs everything to the county. So consequently, that's why you're seeing all these dramatic increases in levies across the state. And I think we've done a pretty good job of keeping ours down as far as we can, because we clearly have not paid for some of these future costs that are trying to be pushed forward on us. But that still gets back to my point. Where's it stop? Who says, I get it, right? I completely understand what Commissioner Felber is saying. If this was any other job, he would be compensated much more for that role. I get that, right? But I'm still in an elected position. I still feel like it's my responsibility to set an example. And I'm not disagreeing with Commissioner Felber on what he's saying about what he's getting compensated for versus the job that he's doing. Completely get that.
So, Mr. Chair, if I may, since we're about 50 minutes behind our posted schedule at this point in time, I am simply at this point in time going to motion that we make it a 3% adjustment and see what we do. So my motion would be to take the 3% adjustment for 2026.
We have a motion. Motion fails because of lack of a second.
Okay. So then I will make a motion that, we'll just keep doing this, till we get something done. I will make a motion that we go with 2%.
Second for conversation.
We have a second by Commissioner Schumacher. Any discussion?
I wanted to, what the number was, I think that would be significant if it ended in 0.44%. Whatever number we come up with because of the paid family leave, which we are not exempt from. I think that has not been addressed. Some of the other things that you had said, it's 0.44. Am I correct, Mr. Administrator? Or Dan?
Oh,
It is 0.44.
I mean,
That's the employee share.
The employee share, but that's calculated after your increase, not as part of it, so.
That was for discussion.
I know. I'd have to back it in. A 2% would get you at a salary of $60,294, just so you know. So that's the number.
I agree with Commissioner Felber that, in the amount of hours he puts in, I realize that. And I probably put in a lot of hours too, but I'm not, I look at the levy, the cost. I agree with Commissioner Hulls in regards to this. I'm probably at 0. It's just, I don't need it. It's not gonna make or break the day. Mileage would be great, considering I'm 30 miles away from this government center and hundreds of miles away from everything else that I see. But I'm at 0.
We make a motion?
But we got a
We have
motion
one.
and a second. We have to vote for that one first.
And then kill it and start over.
So we have to
Any
do
further
that.
discussion? We have a motion of a raise of 2%. All those in favor? Say aye.
Aye. And then,
All those opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Okay.
well, then next I will motion that we go with 0%. That seems to be the consensus of the board.
I'll second that.
We have a motion of 0% and a second by Commissioner Danielowski. Any discussion?
Yeah, I'll throw out there. I want to be sensitive too. I mean, I realize we're nickel and diming at this point, but I would go to 1.5% or something. I think there's something to be said for Commissioner Felber and the amount of mileage that he's doing. And we don't get mileage. So, but I'm
For any
fine,
of us that
but
do-
honestly, I'm fine at 0 too.
I mean, Rayanne sits on some of those long distance ones with me, and we all go to St. Paul on a regular basis. And although even after we get mileage, we're probably going to be prudent with these things and figure out, okay, how many of them are very functional to do by remote, because we can do most of them by remote. Sometimes, like when you're presenting, I chaired a committee thing recently by remote. That wasn't super great, but it did function. So,
Mr. Chairman, I'm at 1.44.
1.5.
And
I think we,
So 1.5, just for giggles, is $59,999.
well, that's really a cool number. But I
It's
think
actually
we-
998.68, so I did
we have
round
to
up
vote
the
on one
.44
first.
for you.
You can amend it. You can
Can
amend
we
your
amend
vote.
it? Okay, so then, in conjunction with the consensus of the board, I would amend my motion to 1.5% to get that really cool $559,999 and not one penny more.
We have an amendment.
I think she made the second.
Who made the second?
I did.
Okay.
I'm open to the friendly amendment for voting purposes.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Nay.
Nay.
Okay, we got something done. All right,
Took us a
government,
while.
government continues. All righty, here we go. All the elected
right.
officials are sitting in the back getting nervous.
Yeah, next, yeah. Joel and
All right.
Michelle and Lorraine are all kind of going, uh-oh.
8.5.
And the, and Don here too, sorry, you're in the audience. The next item is setting the salary for the elected officials. This is also required by statute to be done for the succeeding year. I did have to award the Eagle Eyes Award to the only commissioner who caught the error on this particular item. So apparently, with multiple eyes looking at this thing, we all neglected to update the commissioner aye or nay section of the resolution. So Commissioner Schumacher was very happy to find out he didn't have to vote on the elected officials' salaries, except he told me beforehand, so I've now emailed you the corrected resolution. So in fact, he does. But he does win the Eagle Eyes Award for the only person who caught the only error in what was a very well-read resolution. So what is recommended is setting the elected official salaries for 2026. And I would note for the board that all 4 of these positions are on the ballot next year. So that was a consideration when we put this together. And so the recommendation is that you pass it as presented.
I don't have issues with it.
I'll make a motion to approve the salary increases for the elected positions of the county sheriff, the county recorder, and where do we have the audit?
They're also there,
Okay.
auditor, treasurer, and
Yes.
attorney.
Thank you.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Danielowski, second by Commissioner Schubacher. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Hulse.
I think all of our other elected officials do outstanding work. So I don't want this to reflect on any kind of commentary on the work that they do whatsoever. My concern is that from a percentage standpoint, these are very, compared to what I'm used to in the civilian sector, these are relatively large increases. And so maybe they're deserved because we're under market. I don't know, but I do have that concern. It won't stop me from voting for them, but I am raising the concern. With that being said, I am requesting that at the beginning of the year, next year, sometime before the end of the first quarter, I would like to see a salary study. And what I would like to see is I would like to see all of the elected positions. I would like to see all the senior senior staff positions, including the department heads and their direct reports. I'd like to see what their salaries are and compare that to the 2 counties that are just under our population and the 2 counties that are just above our population. In a spreadsheet form, it's all it has to be. I'm not saying we're above market, below market, or at market. The point is, I don't have the data. And so I would like to see that salary study done. I'd like to see it brought to us by the end of the first quarter next year. The other piece of it that I would like to include is I'd like to understand also how that relates to the senior department head level salaries at state. So the head of DHS, what is that salary? The head of MnDOT, what is that salary? I just want to understand the spectrum and see how all that lays out. So if we could get that done by the end of the first quarter, I would appreciate that.
Is that a possibility, Commissioner Messel?
I don't know, first quarter is, but the only thing I would suggest is we do use our counterpart counties, so it's not just population-based. So I would suggest that we ask Tammy to put it together for the 12 counterpart counties. That way you have consistent data. It will probably capture your population ones, but, I'm just thinking, I don't know how Olmsted County, which is one of our, I think, 12, isn't it, Dan? No, but Olmsted County would be very close in population, so I think if we stick with what you already do for negotiations, it might be better data for you.
I'm fine with having that information. I still want the counties of similar population.
Well, most of your counterpart counties are.
As long as they're included in that group, that's fine. If they're not, I would like, let's say there's a county left out, I think it would be informative to include it.
Yeah, I mean, again, the challenge is, like I said, if you just go population-based, you draw on St. Louis, you draw on Olmsted. I'll have to see what the top 2 and bottom 2 are, but I think we're going to get a better picture if you use what we do for comparatives, because we're also in a market, where a St. Louis County department head isn't necessarily competing with jobs with Dakota and Washington if they're in the metro. So that's why we have those logic behind our counterpart counties.
Mr. Chair, when was the last time we went out for a compensation study?
We don't do class comp studies. It's been well over a decade.
It has
You adopted that review. So there's as Tammy's shown you, there's 3 pieces to it. There's individual position reviews if the position descriptions have changed. There's a triennial review, and then there's market-based adjustments. So we can put the data together. I think it's fine. I just want to say, if it's population-based, you may get a skewed data set. So.
Well, so maybe what we do then is have a brief discussion on what the comparative counties are, why they're, aside from the earlier, maybe do that in January.
Well, and again, the only reason I'm hesitating is you're also in open arbitration where that, we go in with the counterpart counties set. So that's why I'm saying, maybe not Q1 because we have arbitrations in January.
That's not my point. I'm not talking about having numbers for that January discussion. I would like to understand the logic behind how those counterpart counties were selected. And if there are similar population size counties that are not included in that, I just don't understand why.
Yeah. Because, and again, it's because in addition to just population, there's factors like competitive markets. So,
and that's fine.
Yeah.
Let's just have that conversation separate from numbers.
Yeah.
And then we can
I'll
decide
schedule that as a workshop, and have Ben and Tammy come in and kind of lay that out for you.
And
That'd be good.
And Mr. Commissioner, I think what, Mr. Chairman, I think what Commissioner Halls was referring to when he said missing counties, it might be Mille Lacs and Isani County.
Well, and again, you know, there are counties that you would want to have us compare to if you want to lower salaries.
Well, no,
You know, because they have generally a lower salary base. There are counties that, let's say, a union would want to include that we don't include because it would raise salaries. So your methodology is a fair question, but it's not just again, it's not just purely a population issue. It's not purely a geography issue. You know, we have to look at where our employees go when they're making job changes, where we bring employees in from. And then ultimately, the decision you guys have made is, do you want to be, let's say you have 12 counties that you consider your counterparts. Do you want to be in the bottom quartile, or do you want to be in the top quartile, or do you want to be in one of the middle quartiles? You know, philosophically, Sherburne has always said we want to be in a top quartile county. We want to be a place people want to come to work at. So you're starting, you know, once you scratch that surface, to your point, it's, well, why not Morrison County? Well, why not Wilmer? You know, why not Clay County? It just gets to be unraveling, or, you know, peeling back the onion. You're going to just have to decide how far back you want to peel this.
So I understand what you're saying. However, I take exception to the inference that I'm asking for this based on either raising or lowering salaries.
No,
What I'm saying,
it wasn't all, Commissioner. I was responding to Brad's comment, not to yours. So there was no inference there.
okay. I just want to understand the methodology, because those comparison counties were done before I was on the board and before most of us were on the board. I don't see anything wrong with us having a discussion on explaining to us what the logic was behind that. And that's what I'm asking for first. And then based on that, we can have the salary discussion later, because I don't want to waste anybody's time, and I don't want anybody to do extra work that doesn't, you know, that doesn't add anything.
Okay. Right, we have a motion on the floor and a second. Any other further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
That was a long way to get to aye.
Yeah, it was.
We sure did. But that's how we roll.
Yeah. 10.6, consider approval of Sherburne County Pilot Commuter Bus Service Agreement, number 1061722 with MnDOT. Andrew.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Had to make sure it was still morning. County
Thank you.
Commissioners. We're before you today to consider the agreement with MnDOT in regards to the express bus service that will replace the North Star commuter rail. As we've reported and provided information to the county board previously, we've taken a look at a number of options in regards to this express bus service. We think we've come to a great solution in regards to that. It is Route 882, they're calling it. It will be operated specifically by Metro Transit through the Met Council. They in turn have an agreement with MnDOT, and then we also in turn will have an agreement with MnDOT as well to reimburse for those services through the MnDOT Rural Transit Office. We're feeling very confident about where this is at. It provides flexibility. There will be the 3 routes in the morning, stopping at Big Lake and Elk River, and then a number of stops in downtown Minneapolis. I think there's 4 or 5 stops in downtown Minneapolis to provide that convenience for workplace down there. And then there will be the 3 trips returning in the afternoon. Should we feel like we need more than that, that's something we can then consider and work through with MnDOT and Metro Transit. But again, this is a pilot. This is through December 31st of 2027, so it's effectively a 2-year agreement for those services so that we can see how it works. If we need to make adjustments, we have those opportunities to do so. But in essence of time and urgency, we needed to put this together knowing that North Star will cease to exist on January 4th. This service will begin on Monday, January 5th of 2026. With that, I will open it for questions or any further comments.
Questions?
I really don't have any questions. We covered this pretty solidly. I feel pretty confident and with the presentation, and we've got all the data out to the public to read. So at this point in time, I would motion that we approve this.
We have a motion on the floor by Commissioner Felber,
Second.
second by Commissioner Halls. Any further discussion?
Vote no, first to ride it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Nay.
Thank you very much for your work on this. This was a big project to get this ready to go. Thank you very much.
So you see a lot of marketing coming out here over the next couple of weeks. There's already been some sent out, and they do have the, I forget what they call it, the trifold or their schedule of services and whatnot already posted on their websites.
Okay.
Vikings have been eliminated from the playoffs, so it's definitely going to end.
Well, at this point, I'm going to recess the regular meeting and open the Regional Rail Authority meeting. And I do not seem to have an agenda.
It's on the,
We will grab you one. Do you want to maybe
on the
take your break real
computer,
quick now so we can get that set?
You guys
You
want
guys have been going pretty steady, so,
you want a 5-minute recess?
no? Okay.
gonna
I'll
play
just-
dodgeball in this recess or not?
We only have one item for the region.
Of course not. Huh?
You have the agenda for the? Well, you don't need to print it, just bring it up and,
Just bring it up.
Yeah, just bring
There
it
it
up.
is.
There it is.
all right, thank you.
Beautiful.
All right.
I was just gonna pull
Need
it
a
up.
motion to approve the regular proposed meeting agenda for the Rail Authority.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, that was fast. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
And is approved. Item 2.1, consider approval of the official minutes. Did you guys have the chance to read the minutes?
I did. So moved.
Second.
Again, fast. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. Item 2.2, consider approval and certification of the 2026 Regional Rail Authority levy.
I would move that we approve and certify the 2026 Regional Rail Authority levy.
At?
Zero, as always.
As always.
I like zero
Second.
levies. I really do.
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Danielowski. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Same sign. And the Rail Authority meeting is now adjourned.
Outstanding.
There, that was a fast one.
We're just governmenting at high
I'll
speed now.
reconvene the regular and adapt regular agenda, consider adoption of 2026 annual associated levies.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. Dan, do you want to go through the associated levies, or you want me to do it?
Go ahead.
You sure?
I wanted to do the rail, but you took that
You want to do the rail?
Gee,
All right.
bold move.
So this is it. This is the budget approval and everything that goes with it. So we do the rail authority first because you have to approve it then as the county board. So that's why we just did the little kabuki dance. But this is the adoption of the 2026 budget. You can amend your budget during the year, but you cannot amend the levy. So you establish the levy for 26, knowing that Lorraine comes every month and we talk about the budget and we can make budget adjustments, which are actually recommended. But it does establish a permanent levy at that point. So included in the report is, of course, the conveyance letter, which we'll put online once you make your final actions today, and then the associated sub-budgets that come with it. We're here to stand for any questions you may have before you take final adoption, now that you've approved the Regional Rail Authority levy.
Questions about our proposed levy?
Nope. All I would like to say is that really thanks to all the staff that did the work on this. And I think we've done a fantastic job of putting together a viable levy with the minimum impact we could under all the circumstances that we're facing. I would motion that we approve the levy.
We have a motion on the floor of approving the levy at 6.49%.
Can we approve the budget and the levy?
Approve the budget and the
as
levy.
writ-
Thank you
as
very
written?
much for the correction. Yeah,
Approval of the budget and the levy.
just like that.
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Danielowski. Any further discussion?
I do have one question. Are we going to see, I know we had talked about sending a information letter in with the property tax statements when they go out. And I've given one county that uses something, and I know there's been, I think, another county. Are we going to see that before it goes out as to which format we?
Yes, you will approve it before it goes with.
Okay, so we'll see that before it
We'll
goes
have a
out.
chance to look at it.
Perfect. All right, thank you.
Any other further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Levy's been set. All right, we're at commissioner correspondence.
If I may go first, I have kind of prepared a little bit of a synopsis of the main things we did at AMC.
Okay, perfect.
We might not have to report on it then.
So, AMC was the big thing. AMC, Micah, as we're all going into the legislative session, I think this is stuff that were the most important thing. So anything else that I did, I'm just going to mention. AMC pre-meeting update on Review Violent Offender Task Force, AMC meeting on general government, and then another pre-meeting update on public safety. We did our truth and taxation, reviewed some nuclear presentations, had coffee with the mayor. One thing that's important about that I will mention is that Elk River will not have a muni pot store. They decided not to do it. And then we went to AMC, and the big thing we did at AMC is we presented a lot of platform items as a county. Starting off, one of the first ones that we did, we presented platform items in public health, human services, environmental and natural resources, and general government, and transportation and infrastructure. So I'm not aware of any other committees that we didn't hit. One of the big ones that we did was repealing the prohibition on building nuclear facilities and promoting and permitting those in the future. And that was in general government and environment and natural resources. It passed in general government. We support effort to reform, simplify, and modernize Minnesota's property tax system. We carried that into general government, and that will pass in general government. In general government, we also passed allowing assessors alternative methods of verifying property for their own safety, which is a really, really good thing, and that passed in general government. We passed a platform item providing financial compensation to all local units of government for court-ordered refunds. That passed in general government. We supported efforts to prevent nonprofit housing units from property tax exemption. That passed in local government. And then we went back to, I got assessor safety in here for some reason twice, because there's some other components to that, but that was a big part of it. To restore Minnesota's competitiveness in securing investment and job creation, to support a state economic environment that would support the development of data centers. That passed in general government. Support modification to the solar production tax. That passed in general government. In general government and human services, implementation of the Minnesota African American Family Preservation and Child Welfare Disproportionality Act, getting some actual funding for this very expensive program down to the counties. That passed in both. And then general government and health and human services. And this is something that Commissioner Hulse had brought up and that we move forward with on presenting. Support consideration of transitioning to a state-supervised, state-administered model. What actually came out of that in both Health and Human Services and General Government is they did modify that. I don't have the actual modification with me. We got it up on the, we'll get that eventually, but realistically what we are is we've started a very solid conversation is what's going to come out of this, a very solid conversation at looking how we actually implement human services inside the state of Minnesota. It was a long time coming. It was heavily debated. Very much thanks to Amanda for bringing it for us in Health and Human Services, because it wasn't popular at all. In general government, it was still difficult, but we passed, in general government, the modification had been passed in Human Services about 20 minutes before or about the time we started our discussion, and so we passed the same thing in general government. So at least that conversation is going to happen. Transfer station and infrastructure, I know Rand carried this. Consideration of equitable distribution to past and current participating partners of remaining assets, residual reviews from termination and dissolution of state and local infrastructure projects. That's a good thing, and that passed as far as I know. And I got here, and also one of the big overall AMC platform items is going to be to work on our insanely, ridiculously outdated computer system that Health and Human Services have to operate. I know Commissioner Halls has done a bunch of work on this in terms of bringing in representative of federal government, and that is the #1 priority right now for AMC. And this is big. I mean, when we bring this stuff in, for the people who are watching or reading this later, this means all 87 counties are going to be supporting these. So these are big lobbying efforts. So I'm really proud of the work we did. I'm extremely proud of what Administrator Messel did. I mean, he was all over the place, running from one committee to the other, back and forth, making sure these presentations went off as they would. We got a lot of help from AMC staff. Everybody did a great job, and I think that we, as Sherburne County, to toot our own horn a little bit here, really had an impact on how the state, at least things are to be considered at state level down the line. My other little personal note from AMC overall, I mean, went to a lot of committees, a lot of different things. I mean, I was there from Sunday to Wednesday. And one of the things on Sunday was, that I forgot to mention, was there was AMC is going to support a change in the retirement for probation officers and telecommunicators, as they are public service adjacent. So they're going to be looking at changing the age and years of service required for retirement in those very, very difficult jobs, and I'm super happy with that. In one of the presentations there, it came up that one of the most desirable traits for people in general is gratitude. And this was discussed at a couple other presentations. We discussed it in my Leading on Purpose thing. One of the other things I did this last week, I've been doing every week. And it's like, do we say thank you enough? I mean, it's got me thinking about that. You know, do we say thank you to our staff enough? Do we say thank you to the people that our families? Do we say that enough? I mean, we probably can't say that. I mean, even to the retired person who checks your receipts at the Walmart, thank them for that job. Nobody wants that job, hardly. I mean, it's a job that they're probably doing because they have to. So I think we could just all show a lot more gratitude. And that particular thing, out of all the stuff we did at AMC, really resonated with me personally. Other than that, reviewed CMRP. I went to MICA. In MICA, as far as the platform items there, they did not pass the probation dispatcher, but some things for corrections and public safety passed, and those are very much in line with what AMC is doing. So it's about that. CMJTS had a lot of good presentations. I won't go through the whole thing. One of the big things that was mentioned there is that they're getting a subcontract with Career Solutions to help provide services to the 500 people who were laid off from Centricare. So that's a good thing. We changed our board election to March. Went to the Becker Township meeting. There was some great presentations by our staff there, and there was a discussion on the County Road 93. And one more little personal thing here at the end. About a week ago, 10 cops were shot in 7 days. Police officers, members of the federal law enforcement are being assaulted, accosted, kidnapped. Their families are being threatened. And I just want to, same thing I keep saying, but I'm going to be a little more specific. U.S. Code 1344, titled Bringing in and Harboring Certain Illegal Aliens. Section 3, knowing or reckless disregard of the fact that an alien has come into, entered, or remains in the United States in violation of law, conceals, harbors, or shields from detection, or any attempts to conceal, harbor, or shield from detection such alien in any place, including any building or means of transportation. So if you are working to prevent these aliens from being legally detected, you are violating federal law, and that definitely applies to people who hold public office. And my personal hope is that these people who are doing these things will be appropriately investigated. And if they are found to have violated the elements of the law, they will be appropriately charged, tried, and if convicted, they will be incarcerated. And I'll leave it at that.
Good update. Commissioner Schumacher, you're next.
Well, thank you. Perfect segue to saying thank you to the county board. I have been here now for 1 year, and I want to thank all 4 of you for the experience. To Brian Fleming, who's in the room, the county attorney, who's next to me, county administrator, their new newspaper editor, IT staff, and our auditor, treasurer, and everybody watching online. We are thankful that we come into this holiday season for everyone that we get to serve and work with.
Did our law enforcement.
Oh, and he's behind the corner, the sheriff's officer who is here. Very good. Thank you guys on behalf of Zimmerman and Livonia for passing the resolution of support, which was on the last agenda for 253rd. That's a big step, and hopefully that happens. And so they both, it's a adjoining road. Thank you guys for that unanimous support for that. And then also for Dave Rodell for helping me cover while I was gone. A stoplight issue that we're having up on Rum River Drive as it's back ordered, but we're gonna get it installed next week. With that, I appreciate all the work that you guys did at AMC and covering all of that where I was. So I appreciate each and every one of you guys in this holiday season and your families.
At your back.
Thank you.
Commissioner Halls.
Apparently I'm up. Well,
are you awake?
I am awake. So in general, a couple of things. So I had a couple of meetings with the AMC general government committees in preparation for the work that you guys did at AMC. So I appreciate the handoff there, and you guys did a great job at the AMC conference. Obviously, we had anybody knows you brought it up yet, but we had the Truth and Taxation meeting over the last couple of weeks as well. Okay, you had it on there. All right, we also had a discussion on nuclear energy with what's the name of the committee again? MNEA.
Minnesota Nuclear Alliance.
Yep, there we go. So we had that discussion, and I thought that went quite well. There were some discussions and concerns with a few of the AMC members, but obviously it ended up passing even through environmental. So I think that went quite well. A couple other things I had, county corrections meeting last week. That's a quarterly meeting with us. And then also we had our first meeting with the 7W EDD meeting. So you were there live and I was there remotely. So that was a good first introductory meeting to the new economic development district that we've got in place. So and that opens us up for quite a bit of work. I want to highlight 3 of the AMC policy amendments that got adopted. The first one, I can't emphasize enough the amount of work being done on trying to lift the nuclear moratorium in the state. It is a significantly heavy lift, but I think as a county we have done an excellent job of trying to lead that effort. The second is around property tax fairness and reform. We talk about that, but what that actually means is that the current property tax structure in Minnesota is punitive against homestead, and it's important that gets revised so that we don't end up taxing people out of their homes. And the third piece, and I touched on it earlier, was the fact that, as I mentioned, from an HHS standpoint, we're one of 10 states that administer HHS through the counties the way we do. We're one of 3 states where we're expected to carry the costs. That fundamentally has a moral hazard because the state dictates the requirements, the state dictates the computer systems that they never have to use, which is why we still have computer systems that were copyrighted in 1993, which is why we still have computer systems that don't talk to each other, which certainly make it significantly harder to detect fraud. So until that gets addressed, we are going to be vulnerable for those sorts of things. So that's the level of importance that as a county, we are trying, as one county out of 87 counties that we are trying to carry. And I appreciate everybody's effort on that. I will also say that I want to say how much I do appreciate the group of people that we work with here. We can have disagreements and still be professional. Doesn't mean we don't get irritated once in a while. But the level of professionalism with the staff, with the department heads, with Dan, with Bruce, with the other electeds, and with the board, I think is actually quite unique based on what I've seen with other counties. So I really appreciate that. Let's go ahead and have our vehement disagreements, but at the end of the day, I think we end up coming to the best conclusions because nobody shuts down because we're still having a professional conversation. So I appreciate everybody for that. Thank you.
Rayanne, he took all your time.
Okay.
I know, I don't normally do that.
I think this is a meeting that's known for its time. Anyways, I attended the AMC conference as well, and we were very busy. We had a lot of, I want to say that there was 18 total submissions for platform policies to go to the legislature with, and 15 of them were new, and 3 of them were amendments. And I think we all did a really good job, and I want to thank everybody for all of their input in what it was that we were looking to bring forward, and standing up in front of the committees and having those conversations. Quite a few of them had really a lot of conversation, good conversation around it. There's always that concern with what you asked for and opening up that can of worms, so to speak, and what is you're going to get in the long run. But I think we always need to be willing to look to improve. To Commissioner Hull's point in regards to the antiquated computer systems that HHS works with and the lack of desire, it feels like, to get those improved. And when he refers to the fraud situation, the amount of money that has been lost in fraud could have paid for updated systems, I don't know how many times over. So I think that we need to really get the state to start to improve these systems so we can do better at what it is that we're charged with providing. All right, back to the AMC conference. Everything did pass. It even passed on the floor at the annual meeting. So that was good to see happen. Also, I attended on December 3rd the AMC Transportation Policy meeting via Zoom to get ready for the conference. Also attended the Tri-County Solid Waste Executive meeting at that time. And then December 4th, also attended the Public Health and Human Services Policy Committee Platform Amendment meeting. And also on that same evening was the TNT meeting that we had. And we really had, I think, we had about 6 individuals that were 4 parcels, which I think was good. They heard the information. They did not disagree with what it was that we were doing. They just basically had questions as to some of the increases, and we had staff that was great at walking them through what were the reasons and how it, how it affected their properties and stuff. And then also on December 7th through the 10th, like I said, the AMC conference, great conference, a lot of good breakout sessions, a lot of good policy committee discussions. One thing I want to point out on Sunday, December 7th, to kick the conference off, I do sit on a subcommittee for the economic development, workforce, and housing. We had a meeting on Sunday and we had some speakers, And I'm really looking forward to, we had one gentleman from the state of Minnesota's economy, labor force, and the effects of AI that he presented on. And I wish we would have had more time. And we're going to bring him back at the fall conference is what we're looking to do. He had such really good information and he just had such a limited time, a lot of response to asking questions that we just did not have the time to do. So we're looking to bring them back for our fall conference. So if you get a chance to do that, I highly recommend touching base with him, and his name is Cameron Mock. And then also then attended the NACO CEWD, which is a committee through the National Association of Counties, and it has to do with economic development. That meeting is always by Zoom. Always have a lot of good conversation. Our needs are just pretty much the same across the country in regards to economic development and workforce development. Also attended the Big Lake Township meeting that evening. December 11th, had the CMRP meeting, which is the Central Mississippi River Partnership. That meeting is basically, we meet to kind of cross the Ts and dot the Is. Also that afternoon attended the 7W EDD meeting up in St. Cloud, as Commissioner Hulls referred to, and I think that's going to be really, there was a lot of good conversation around it, a lot of good support for going after the becoming a 7W EDD, and then looking at how we're going to direct those opportunities in extra funding and stuff to support the regional thought process. Also then I attended the various meetings with staff and responded to constituents' concerns. And I do want to bring up in regards to the gentleman that spoke at Open Forum, Mr. Gary Tanzager. Did I say that right? Yep, okay. In regards to some of the things that he was talking about, and I think that it might be a good idea. We do have the election subcommittee that maybe we could bring that group together again, go over some, because I think that we're going to, see these concerns come up as we start to head into the 2026 election year. And so I think it probably would be a good idea to reconvene that group and go through some of what the concerns that are being brought forward and have that discussion.
Yeah, at the January organizational meeting, we can recommend establishing the ad hoc subcommittee again.
Yep.
But I'll talk to Lorraine and we'll get back with you then in January.
Okay, perfect. Then also, one other question I have in regards to discussing, I know that we did, they did pass that platform amendment in regards to transportation and the potential costs that can be associated with the dismantling of North Star. One thing that I want to kind of get an idea, how do we find out every site along the North Star line has infrastructure that is sitting in the BNSF right-of-way? And I don't recall what the contract with the BNSF Railway is to remove that, but I doubt it's going to be at their expense. So I'd kind of like to get an idea of what potentially we're looking at to get that infrastructure, because they're serious. Once that shuts down, they want that infrastructure removed out of there right away.
Yeah, there's a group that meets, Andrew's not here, but it actually meets today.
Okay.
There's a North Star transition group that's technical,
Mhm.
that meets to go over those type of things. So what I'll do is ask Andrew to just do a brief update to the board at your next meeting. Otherwise, you can just call them and get an update too if you don't want to wait that long. But there is an established group that's working through that particular set of issues.
Because I'm pretty sure there was a rail spur put in at the Big Lake Station to get the train over to where the maintenance structure was. And if that comes out.
No, our understanding is that the rail spur and the maintenance station will remain.
That
It's
will
still
stay,
being
okay.
discussed about whether it's going to be a MnDOT facility or still be a Met Council facility. That's still being discussed. But
Okay.
that level of, like I said, it's being actively discussed. So We asked about whether there was going to be a reconvening of the policymaking groups, and the answer was no, that they were, just going through the process. But I'm sure there'll be certain issues that will pop up, yeah.
Perfect, all right. Thank you, and I think that that was pretty much it, and I also want to say thank you to my fellow board members, thank you to all the staff and the department heads and everybody that's involved in providing what the community members of Sherburne County look to us for. And I cannot say thank you enough. You guys are all great at what you do. I appreciate you immensely. And I want to also wish you all a very Merry Christmas, because we won't see each other probably before then, and a happy and safe New Year.
Me. I did multiple pre-meetings for the AMC thing, just like all of us did. I did the TNT meeting, the AMC conference. I went down there on Sunday also. I think the biggest thing I took away from the meeting I attended on Sunday evening was an ag economist talking. And just for you guys that aren't in the ag world, it is a doom and gloom situation for the producers. Not all, but a lot of them. There was not one thing that he presented that showed a profit in any aspect. Some specialty crops maybe, but livestock, corn, soybeans, beef, they were all going to be very vulnerable, very losing situations. So you got to be concerned of the mental health of the farming community in regards to this, because they're all struggling to find a way to make money, and that's going to put a load on these guys. So that was one thing I took away from that. I also attended the AMC conference with, and a huge shout out to Bruce. He showed up at mine, Committee, Environment and Natural Resources, and I asked him how he's doing, and he said one word was winded. So that kind of explains it all, but I don't think all of us probably put into perspective of how important and how articulate Bruce was at that meeting and to get the 8 amendments passed. I think there was more than one commissioner that came up to me and expressed their support because of the way Bruce presented things. I think that's kudos to you in regards to that. That's all 5 of us could have done what we did, to present those things, but to get them through the finish line, I think goes out to Bruce, which is huge. I went to, I logged on to the Sherco's stakeholder meeting, which I think Dan did in regards to that. I then realized that after I was on for about a half an hour, 45 minutes, XL was in the basement at the AMC meeting presenting on transmission lines. So I went down there and listened to them on transmission lines, which was a very informative thing. Again, that conversation turned to nuclear. And one of their presenters did say that they were asked what they were going to use for baseload energy, and XL stated flat out, their representative stated flat out, nuclear. So, but they're not jumping on ship with to get the lift of the nuclear moratorium. They're just going to wait and see what happens. But yes, their baseload power is going to be nuclear as far as they're concerned, and the little bit of gas that they're going to be having. I attended the Soil and Water Conservation District on the 11th, and also on the 11th I was the alternate for Rayanne on the APO. The biggest takeaway from that was they're looking for a lobbyist. The APO is, and they've got one now. They've switched lobbyists to a new one for 2026, but they're looking to have a joint lobbyist for 2027. So that's a discussion that we'll have to have. Is that what you perceive out of it, Dan?
Correct, yes.
Yep, okay. And the other thing, it's kind of been a privilege, humbling to be the chair of this board. I always look at things that I want to move the needle a little bit in anything I've ever done, and I think I've moved the needle a little bit with the board and how we work together, which I think I echo what Commissioner Hull said, we get along, and we do that. We're all not going to agree. I think I moved the needle a little bit in dealing with the staff. There's a lot of staff. Jeepers. You can't meet them all. I'm still working through trying to have luncheons or meet and greets with all of the staff. The public, trying to move the needle a little bit with the public. Never going to make them all happy. I think we've all came across that you are not going to make every constituent happy no matter what. I'm sure there was people in this room this morning that left happy, some that left mad. Just the way it is. But for me, it was a very fast year, but I really thank everyone for letting me putting up with me would be a better way of putting it. I don't know if that's good or bad. Some of you probably can't stand me. Some of you might like me, some of whatever, but I try. And that's, with that, I'm going to put the gavel down for the last time, I think, here
1 minute,
today.
Mr. Chair, can I please?
No,
Please?
no,
Please?
no, you're done. Commissioner Schumacher, you got anything to say?
No,
Defer your time to
Gonna give
Ray.
my time to
Okay.
me? Thank you. I neglected to just give a quick update. I'm sure everybody heard about the compost fire that happened in Big Lake. I just have some information that I found interesting that I wanted to share. That fire, 220,000 gallons of water was used to try to put it out, and that it still has a smolder aspect to it when you move, the pile around. Also, Big Lake Fire Department alone, along with manpower of the Public Works Department, was 377 hours. And then if you add with mutual aid that came from Elk River, Becker, and Monticello, there was close to 500 hours in manpower. I just found those numbers interesting. So I think what we're doing and moving forward with the combined contract for all of the compost sites in regards to taking care of the product that comes in, I think is a good idea.
Mr. Chair, if I may, that pile smoldering should keep the mosquitoes down till spring. To an extent. Anyhow, just happy Hanukkah and Merry Christmas to everyone who's online or listening.
Yep.
Correspondent.
We're going to recess the regular meeting and open the workshop. You want to do that?
And we have a very short workshop, so if you want to just power through, Dan's ready. So.
We're good.
Dan?